Capital One cafes offer inviting spaces where you can bank, get answers to your financial questions, recharge your devices, and connect to on-the-house Wi-Fi, all with a handcrafted Pete's beverage in hand. Capital One cardholders get 50% off Pete's handcrafted beverages every day. With extended hours, ATMs, and plenty of space to get comfortable, Capital One cafes are built to fit your life. Hey, I'm Angela, and welcome to Creative Disruption. This series was created for the innovations and the challenges that came out of last year. Whether you're a freelancer, a side hustler, just starting out in business, or maybe you've had 20 years in, it doesn't matter. The whole point of Creative Disruption is to talk about how to grow, how to pivot, and how to adapt. In this series, you're going to learn about ways to manage cash flow, best insights on personal branding, and ways to market your business. And I know that if you're like me, you always want to learn, you always want to grow. So I'm really looking forward to sharing Creative Disruption with you. Downtown West Palm Beach is the county's waterfront destination for all to enjoy a unique fusion of dining, shopping, and cultural experiences. From green market strolls to rooftop views, downtown creates an immersive atmosphere for everyone to explore, discover, and create lasting memories in the heart of paradise. Hop on the free trolley or circuit shuttle and see for yourself. Visit downtownwpb.com. As travel begins to start back up, it's important to take a look at the hospitality industry. Find out what they are doing to gain back the trust and loyalty of their customers to return to their establishments. As we know, restaurants and hotels have taken a hit over the past year and a half, and now as things are beginning to reopen, it's really crucial to take a deep look at what has the hospitality industry learned? What have they done to really figure out how to craft a better, more sophisticated customer experience? And also, most importantly, what are some of the takeaways that you can use and implement yourself as a small business owner? So I sat down with the general manager, Bernardo Neto of the Ben Hotel in West Palm Beach, who is a leader in the hospitality industry. He has over 14 years of experience, and he has really learned how to create and implement a customer journey.
The reason the guest is traveling is because we might have life entertainment, because our menus might be seasonally changed and different than the last time he has. We have fun, food and beverage specials that might vary on the day of the week. And the guests might be introduced to something they never ate or drank before, and they'll do that here. We partner with some of the best vendors in the city. A lot of what we do as a hotel is to sell our destination, sell our city.
Opening up after a pandemic, tell me some of the obvious challenges, but can you share maybe some of the unique things that you actually implemented at the Ben that has helped you today?
Absolutely. So we opened 4 weeks or 5 weeks before the pandemic. So we got to open, and then the world kind of went to a halt. We never closed, but for a whole month and a half, we were only open for emergency responders. And then after that, we were really following the lead of the customer confidence. So it was all about last year about what is the guest confident on doing? What is our staff confident? What are we confident on executing safely, but to be an experience? Guests were really telling us that they were craving more than ever, either because they were during the pandemic quarantining, or everybody kind of shifted their approach into more, focus on their family relationships, focus on the things that really matter in life. So having experiences with your friends and family became a huge part of that. So I would say our approach was definitely diversifying and increasing the number of distinct offerings that we have to our guests. We would partner with local artists and still do. And the artists will be able to hang their art on the walls of that meeting room. And we wouldn't charge anything to the artists and but then the artists will do, a happy hour or a cocktail hour because he wants to showcase his art to local people in the community, and they can do that. And then we can offer also a free kind of art show to our guests staying with us. And it was a simple way that doesn't need a lot of effort, but we just gave access to our building to a lot of local vendors. And by doing that, we were creating a space that is multicultural. And we wanted the guests to take away the fact that the only thing they need to worry about is about choosing us as the place to be. And then once they arrive, that they're going to trust us, that we're going to have enough offerings that can keep their entire day busy.
I love that. I love that you not only are listening to what your customers want, but also actively engaging the community in a way that makes everyone feel so much more connected. It's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things we had to do too is, I have, most of us have many years in the hospitality. I have had 20 years, of which we know what we're doing. It's about getting rooms ready, rooms clean, hot meals, and so forth. But now it was training our team to and say, no, we're in the entertainment business, we're in the experience business. You're talking to people now every day that this might be the first time they're staying in a hotel in 2 years. It might be the first time they saw their family members in whatever time. Or somebody that was always busy, had a busy career, but now they shifted their mindset, and being the time that they are with their family and loved ones is so crucial. So it kind of changed the whole dynamic of the industry for us. Even today, we're really appreciative of every guest that chooses to stay with us, and paying attention to what they want is, because it's ever changing for sure.
Do you have, in your opinion, ways that maybe smaller businesses even can implement some of the unique ways that you have taken that challenge on and they could actually implement for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I've learned about brands is you got to stick with it. Whatever you're about, whatever your initial idea was, whatever your niche, stick with that. Do not get diluted. The temptation is so big to get diluted. And what I mean by that is, as soon as you roll into the business, you're going to feel, I wasn't as busy today. If I start adding pizzas on my menu, maybe I'll get busier. Maybe if I do this, what the person across the street's doing. No, people don't want that. Stick in your lane. You don't need everybody. We do. I mean, only if you're trying to compete with like Amazon or something. But I think you truly don't need anyone. And we're in a beautiful country where there's a lot of people with a lot of financial capabilities. So you just need a section. You're going after that little part of the business that is yours. Find the people that love what you love. That would be my biggest advice is we all love brands that when they became mainstream, they become diluted. And then you get disappointed. You're like, I used to love that brand when they were cool. Well, when they were really about that one thing that they had originally.
What are some trends that you are seeing that are going to continue within the hospitality industry? Is there something that you hadn't seen happen in the past that's happening now due to last year that you're going to continue to see that happen and you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, excited. I see a lot of great things. I mean, I feel culturally there's a shift. I mean, I'm really at that stage in my life that I think was this year, that I've lived perfectly half my life in Europe and half my life in the US. So I'm right at that tipping point. So in Europe, folks absolutely work to live. They work to live. They want to work the least amount of hours possible and get the most amount of assistance from government or whatever they want to do, because they want to be in the beach. They want to be in that coffee house and talking to their friends. They want to laugh. They want to get a great tan. They want to travel. That's what they do there. My experience, of which has been amazing, US been like, a lot of push towards, the American dream, succeeding, working. I think that idea that if you put a request for a vacation, that your boss is going to think that you're less committed to your job. I see it in the workforce. I see it in the guests. People want to live more than ever. They want to live. They want to experience. They want to slow down. They want to talk. They want to put their phones down. I think that's maybe a better balance from what we were a couple of years ago. So I see that change in the workforce. I see that change with guests by the type of requests that both my associates and the guests ask. For you to be the best employer in choice today, you have to be the most flexible employer in choice, which is hard because if you're in a big corporation, typically the bigger you are, the slower or more conservative that you're going to move. But for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, that's your advantage. Amazon's gigantic. For them to change an HR rule, they're going to have to move planets to do that. But you can do that tomorrow. You can tell people, I don't need you to work 5 days, work 4 days and work 10 hours and get 3 days off. Or I'm going to give you 80% of your time in the office, 20% at home. You're going to work 2 days at home. And by doing that, you'll be able to be more competitive. Maybe sometimes it's best to have a smaller number of offerings, but you have it on time and you deliver and your word matters. If you tell somebody that's going to be there on that day, he arrives on that day, versus try to do everything and everything's slow and it's a challenge for you to meet the deadline.
I hope you enjoyed that interview, and now it's time to take out your pen and paper. Don't go anywhere, because we are going to do a webinar where we discuss exactly what we just talked about. Taking actionable steps for you to use, and we're going to do a live Q&A. Hey everyone, welcome. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Bernardo. He's just a wealth of information. And in this part, I really want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about what we just discussed, and the whole synopsis of that interview, in my opinion, was really about creating a customer journey, right? And really diving in deep on how you, as a small business owner, can take what a huge corporation like the Ben is doing, and how do you implement it in your day-to-day operations. In this part, we're going to talk about crafting the customer journey and why that's important. And you might be asking yourself, maybe I'm already crafting a customer journey and I don't even know what to do next. Or maybe you've already articulated that in a little bit in your own business plan. But I want to make sure to let you know that whether you're a team of one or you're a team of many, this kind of messaging is something that is always being talked about. So let's go into it a little bit more. I want you to get into the minds of your customers, right? And that definitely can be a challenging effort. And the way you can do that is to really create a customer journey. So the customer journey is the process by which a customer interacts with a company in order to achieve a goal. And you need to figure out what it is that makes people buy. Think about this. Why some brands excel at acquiring new clients, whereas others sometimes fall short? You need to know what it is that you have to do to be one of those brands that's consistently winning new clients. Now, I want to stop for a moment here because you might be saying, I'm a solopreneur. I'm not a brand. And I want to stop you there because even if you're by yourself, you are a personal brand. And so when I say the term brands, I don't want that to turn you off. I want you to become excited and realize that you, 1 to 2 to 3 people on your team, have to still think like the big organizations do. You may not have people in marketing and people on your social media, and that's okay. I'm not expecting you to do that. But what I want you to do is put on that cap, put on that mindset of what am I going to look at what another company does and how can I implement that in my everyday business? And I guarantee you, when you do that, you're going to have wonderful takeaways. So, in order to know what people want out of you and out of your business, start thinking about this on a day-to-day basis. What does your ideal customer actually want out of you? What does your ideal customer actually need? What are the services that you're providing that are actually implementing that? And what will I do to help them understand that I can solve both of them, right? I know that we've talked a lot before about personal branding in some of our workshops, and it's a constant message that we as business owners ourselves are always thinking about. Anytime we create any type of workshop, we're thinking about what are the needs of the viewer, like you watching. What are some of the things that we can do to address in that workshop to make sure we're actually addressing all of your needs and wants? And so together, all of those things that we just talked about, the needs and the wants, is something that you form called a brand experience, right? It's the experience in what drives people in. It keeps them engaged and wanting more. So when you're creating a brand experience, it's a critical process for a brand to be seen and heard. A good example, let's say you're a non-for-profit and you're thinking, well, I'm not a brand. How in the world am I supposed to implement these ideas? And I say, that's a good question. What I say to that is take away the word brand and just replace it with your non-for-profit and think about what are the needs of the audience of your non-for-profit? What are the wants? What are the desires? And you'll start to realize that maybe your needs and wants are obviously acquiring money and fiscal support, but at the same time, you still have an audience of people that might just be watching and saying, I love your non-for-profit. They might want to have more content from you, more blogs, more videos. When you start to think about that beyond just trying to get monetary value from someone, which is what every business is trying to do, you start to think about them a little bit more and the value you can provide. So whether you are a non-for-profit or you're a for-profit business, all of this can apply here. So some of the goals you should be thinking about is obviously how to create retention and loyalty. And the more that you can demonstrate that, you can create an amazing brand experience. And it's more likely that people or your audience will become advocates and ambassadors for your brand. I want you to think about some of these questions here. Think of a brand that you absolutely love. It can be anything, right? How does that brand make you feel? Really stop and think about that. The emotional aspect. Do they make you feel excited? Do you feel happy when you see them? Are you wondering what's going to come out next from them? Are you anticipating something from them? And also think to yourself, why do you keep going back to that brand? And why are you telling everybody else about it? As a small business owner, thinking on these things as to why people might be coming back to you is a good way to look at that. What are you doing that's driving back that traffic, right? I know we talked about this before, but I'll make mention to kind of an unknown rule in marketing, which is called the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time, obviously you can be liberal here with these percentages, but 80% of the time you share something of value to your audience. And the other 20%, you're doing an ask where you're saying, maybe purchase this and buy that. That's another good example of how you can be evaluating the kind of content that you're putting out there to your audience to see if you're really matching up with the needs. And so I want to tell you now, this is going to be a very light version of a customer journey map, but one way to accelerate your brand is to create a customer journey map. This is a visual or written representation of the stages that your customer might go through. And so the process of mapping this journey out will help your brand more easily determine how to improve experiences and deliver value. And you can do this for any type of business. It doesn't matter. Even if the business map that you create, your journey map, might be smaller than some, that's okay. I want to make mention when you see these slides that we can go really far in depth on a customer journey map, but I won't make you stay that long to do that. I'm just touching on some very light points that you can take into consider if you are doing this for yourself. So tip number one, think about aligning your goals. Align the goals of your customer with the products and services that you offer. And this can be done by assessing your audience and customers' goals and objectives. So just take a moment right now to just think on what you're offering and how you're offering it to them. Are you offering it to them through video? Are you offering it to them through maybe a blog? Maybe you're emailing them. Are you doing in-person events again? Think about that and really take time to dive in deep into what you're offering them and how you're doing it and how it is aligning with the goals of your audience. Another thing you can think about is think about your buyer personas. So if you're not familiar with this term, that's okay. A buyer persona is a combination of demographic information, such maybe as the age of your audience or the location, maybe their income, maybe their occupation. And it also has to do with behavioral insights. So where do they shop? What do they think about before they buy? And what values do they prioritize? You know, going back to the interview we just had with Bernardo, obviously they're a large corporation. So there's probably many people thinking about their buyer persona and they're thinking about the wants and needs of them all the time, and might be easier in theory for them to attract it. And that might be true. But the wonderful thing is if you're thinking the way an entire large corporation is thinking, don't you have an advantage? That's an amazing situation to put yourself in where you're now thinking like the corporate executives might be. You're now having the same language and dialogue. And so why that matters as a small business owner is when you're trying to attract that audience, if you're thinking like the big dogs, then that means you're one step ahead. And that's somewhere that you always want to put yourself. I want to make mention that I am live right now. So if you have a question or you want to engage and add into the conversation, you can feel free to type that in the chat box, and I'd love to interact with you. So another tip is to really assess, where your customers are. So obviously, most buyers will enter through the first stage, right, of your map that you create and follow you and, get to the end, which is the sale. But because of social media, there's something called different touch points that they may enter. So make sure you're assessing how your brand is interacting with the different channels that they may come from. I'll give you an example. Let's just pretend that, maybe somebody finds you by word of mouth, or maybe somebody finds you through, let's say, a Facebook, or maybe they find you through a blog you wrote. All those different touch points that you're putting out into the world, that is the way that people are going to find you. And so you have to just maybe take a look at what are you doing? How are you reaching those customers? How are you interacting, engaging with them? And when you start to evaluate, you're doing something that is a lot of people aren't even doing sometimes, right? Because we're just in the motion of creating all the time. We're just in the motion of putting out as much content and pushing it out into the world. But the moment that you do slow down and you start to, which is on to my next point, is also, my next point is identifying pain points. Thinking about some potential questions of pain points that you're thinking about for your business. Are your customers achieving their goals when they're on your website? Think about that. When they click on your website, what are they looking at? Where are they going? What are maybe some of the main areas of frustration your customer might have if they go on their website and maybe they click on a dead link? Why are people maybe abandoning purchases? Maybe you can address that and can kind of look at the products that you're putting out. When you're doing that kind of assessment on yourself, you're really able to come up with data, right? And data doesn't lie. Data is something that you can look at. numbers, they're very dry and boring. But if you're not scared of them and you're able to look at them and say, hey, I can look at how many people are clicking on my website or what page is doing best, that knowledge is power to you, right? And so don't be afraid to say, you know what, I don't have as many clicks as I want, but I'm going to assess as to why they're clicking off, or I'm going to look at why they're abandoning the products. And when you do that, whether you change it up or not, it doesn't matter. That's what part of being a business owner is all about. And the point that we're trying to address here in this series is to encourage you to feel confident in yourself and to not worry. This is overwhelming, obviously. And we've been in business for nearly 10 years, and it's still overwhelming. I'll just let you know the overwhelm doesn't go away. But what I can tell you is if you find a community of people that you love and you respect, continue to go back to them, and find support, because this is something that you definitely can do. So assess, reassess, and fix along the way. So as we're talking about this map, and we didn't go over the majority of things that can go into a customer journey map, but just think about the few things that we've talked about right now, and think about when you create that map, don't just put it up on the wall and forget about it. Go back and reevaluate what's working, what's not working, and how you can address concerns along the way. Like I was just saying, it's okay to say what worked, didn't work in the past, and to reevaluate all the time. A good example of that is because we're magazine publishers, we've always worked on a 3-month time frame. So one of the things that we've picked up along the way is actually assessing ourselves on a quarterly basis. So after 3 months, we'll look at the projects we've done, the work that we've put out, and we say, hey, we don't like this one idea. We love this one idea. Let's keep going more on that. And I think that if you assess yourself on that kind of time basis where you do that 3-quarter, or maybe you do 6 months, that is the best thing you can do, because as you know, technology is moving so fast. So if we're kind of putting out beyond 1-year goals at this point, things are just moving so quickly that we're not going to be able to keep up with that, bandwidth. So I think assessing it in a short amount of time would really be best. And I see, hi, Marilyn. Hi, thanks for joining us and saying hello. Appreciate that. So the main point of all this here is to make sure you know that this is all possible. If you're thinking like a Bernardo Netto and you're going in and going, I'm a business of one, but I'm assessing what I'm doing. I'm going to think about my customer's journey. Whether you're a painter like Marilyn, she can think about all these things, right? And she can be assessing them. Maybe she's not doing every single aspect, but I'm telling you, from my own personal experience, the moment you just start thinking about this stuff and you start just slowly implementing it in your business, you will see the results. I promise you that. So I want you to think about some key takeaways. I want you to think about how you can determine your audience's goals and make sure your brand, your non-for-profit, whatever it is, aligns with them. And also, I want you to assess and reassess your goals to further address your customers' needs and wants, right? So I think now more than ever, we need to not be afraid to make mistakes. Being an entrepreneur is about making mistakes and seeing what we did and reassessing, and you keep going. You don't stop, right? So take this time now to just think about what your business is doing, how it's moving forward. And I would love for you to go back and watch some of the other episodes of the Create Disruption series. We're making sure to highlight people from all different industries. And I want to make sure to make mention on our next episode is going to be on Monday, December 13th. And we're talking to a theater. We're going to be talking about the benefits of live streaming and how what I'm doing right now, you can do yourself too. So I hope that you took some valuable takeaways from this episode. And I really hope to inspire you to know that you can do this, but just take care of yourself and assess and reassess. And if you're doing that, you're ahead of the game. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Create Disruption and have a wonderful night.